The garbage is at least empty.
Islam Moors.
Islam.
Start up with the prayer. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth.
Peace.
Freedom. And justice. Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide. And my salvation. By night. And by day. Through his holy prophet. Noble Drew Ali. Islam.
Are you wanting here? Or we can-
Islam.
Yeah? What's going on with class today?
Today we're just gonna continue on back to basics, jurisdiction.
Yep.
We haven't finished that, right?
Yeah, we still have to deal with territorial jurisdiction.
Okay.
And there was a couple audios that I wanted to play as well. Islam to all the Moors, peace and love. We're just gonna start with our readings to be read every meeting. To be proclaimed in every meeting. Islam. I am glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people on our side of the nation that claim it was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme they can to disqualify me so they themselves may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I am calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, in your divine Moorish movement. I need finance and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the last few years. So today we're going to be just closing out, dealing with the jurisdictions. So far we covered personam jurisdiction and subject matter jurisdiction, and today we are going to cover territorial jurisdiction. We want to also acknowledge the importance of Moors recognizing that jurisdiction is established based on status. So there should be no discussion about jurisdiction on any level if there's no status first being acknowledged or talked about or represented, whatever. We know this right now with everything that's going on, that it's all about claiming jurisdiction, right? The one who has jurisdiction has the power. Okay? The one who makes a claim or creates a jurisdiction has the power. If the status of the individual making the claim is void, they have no jurisdiction. If the building that the claim is being made from has no status, they have no jurisdiction. If the territory that they claim is not de jure and it's corporate and then the building is on that territory, and then the people are in in that building, then they have no jurisdiction, because the first issue is status. The jurisdictions of subject matter and personam are limited compared to territorial jurisdiction. So the territorial jurisdiction is the jurisdiction that we should mainly be tying our status to, not the person or the subject. Right? So when we say Morocco, that says jurisdiction. If we just have plates with just Moroccan flag on it, no words, that says jurisdiction, right? Because the flag is tied to the landmass, but somebody with a status had to create the flag. Somebody with the status had to say, this jurisdiction is our country, this jurisdiction is our empire. Somebody who has a divine and a natural connection to the land can make the most supreme claim of jurisdiction. So for territorial jurisdiction involves the very power, control, and authority itself to render a judgment or a decision. This involves matters of what is termed proof of jurisdiction. Of course, remember the inherent right of the nationals or citizens to challenge the jurisdiction of the courts at any juncture of a proceeding. An averment of jurisdiction is a writ and argument that would be placed into evidence or firmly asserted in such an instance. The supreme standard for establishing jurisdictional powers and the guideline for their binding limitations would be and is the Constitution for the United States Republic, North America. The lawful standard of all delegated judicial authority is specified, stated, and prescribed by constitutional law, as per United States Republic Constitution, Article 3. So Article 3 of the Constitution, Section 1. The judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court, and in such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time establish. So jurisdiction, supreme, and so the only way that judicial authority is granted is to the Supreme Court or an inferior court that Congress gave authority to, right? The judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court, and in such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time establish. The judges of both the Supreme and inferior courts shall hold their offices during good behavior, and shall at stated times receive for their services a compensation which shall not be diminished during their continuance in office. Section 2. The judicial power shall extend to all cases in law and equity arising under this Constitution, the laws of the United States, and treaties made or which shall be made under their authority, to all cases affecting ambassadors, public ministers, and consuls. So the jurisdiction that the judicial power arising under the Constitution and treaty applies to everybody who is not stateless. So anybody who's not stateless has the authority to stand for jurisdiction being proven by the people who claim that they have authority, by the people who claim that they have jurisdiction. So when we have situations of inferior courts that we all deal with, right? And then here we have superior court, who they call themselves superior to fool the people into thinking that they're supreme, right? You have family court. You have Ontario Court of Justice. Provincial court. And then you have small claims. Family court, general superior court, oh yeah, and appeals. Right? So all these courts that they have in our jurisdiction, superior court, appeals court, family court, Ontario Court of Justice, provincial court, small claim court, are all classified as inferior courts. Because each one of them admit, whether it's on their website, whether it's in court sessions, they admit that they're quasi. They say that out of their own mouth. So we know that they have no judicial authority. The only authority that they have is administrative, right? Which they exercise under the guise of terms called court and terms called Ontario, provincial, justice. So they use these phrases that are relative to the jurisdiction of a Supreme Court in order to get the people to be under the jurisdiction of the inferior courts that don't have supreme authority to even be inferior. Because we know that Congress didn't sanction any of these. We know Congress gave no authority to these courts to exist, right? To all cases of admiralty and maritime jurisdiction, to controversies to which the United States shall be a party, to controversies between two or more states, between a state and citizens of another state, between citizens of different states, between citizens of the same state claiming lands under grants of different states, and between a state or the citizens thereof and foreign states, citizens, and subjects. So you're going to realize, oh, Islam, more?
Islam.
You're going to realize,
Islam.
so you got, yeah, we're on. You already know more. You know how we do. Islam, more. Islam, more. How you doing, fam?
Pardon the interruption.
It's all good. It's all good. You know, doors open. You know, doors open. We welcome all. All right. So, Section 2 deals with where the judicial power shall extend and who it applies to. So again, to controversies to which the United States shall be a party, to controversies between two or more states. Right, so controversies between two or more states. So you have like all the so-called North and South wars, etc. Right? Between a state and citizens of another state. So a state and citizens of another state. So you have Dred Scott decision, where they had state making a claim, then you had slave making a claim that was from a different state, and then you had master making a claim that was from a different state. Between citizens of the same state claiming lands under grants of different states. So between citizens of the same state claiming lands under different states. So this is where you get, for example, the Indian treaties, right? them being citizens of different states and making arrangements, making contracts, making whatever with other states that might not have the jurisdiction to even be going to them for anything. So you have situations where residential schools, where Europeans were civilizing the savages, the so-called Indian savages. When they made those claims of saying, we're going to start a school, they didn't have jurisdiction to start the school. But if the so-called Indians are going to give jurisdiction to them under the guise of, we're Indian, that's a term that was made up for Aboriginal indigenous people. So because they claim Indian as their title or their position, they put themselves under the jurisdiction of the colonial powers. And then the colonial powers just used whatever jurisdiction that was given to them. No different than when Negro, black, colored people say white man. And then their perspective is skin tone, why Europeans say they're white people. And skin tone, why dark skinned people say that they're black. When it's really about creating jurisdictions under assumptions, under incompetence, under ignorance, right? Which means that the jurisdiction is void, and the claim goes back to the original holder at that time. Between citizens of the same state claiming lands under grants of different states, and between a state or the citizens thereof and foreign states, citizens and subjects. So foreign states, citizens and subjects would be, for example, how other nations could contract with U.S. and Canada, and then they can have, Indian Bazaar. And they have this little jurisdiction where it's only their people. Nobody else goes there because, they figure it's not really our jurisdiction or whatever. Shut down the street for Greek festival or whatever like that. But, the same concept is used for Caravana, but it's different. The setup is different, right? It's not as de jure as it should be, because you have the corporate saying that they're the ones that are giving up this jurisdiction, but the jurisdiction that they give up is not something where Caravana people go every day of the year. They're only there in their little allowed slave time to go do whatever it is that they want to do. Whereas, Greek town, Chinese town, Turk town, whatever, they're there every day of the year. That's a jurisdiction that they kind of control, right? In all cases affecting ambassadors, other ministers and consuls, and those in which a state shall be party, the Supreme Court shall have original jurisdiction. Now, due to the negligence of the people of not seeing themselves as ambassadors and consuls, they admit the jurisdiction of these lower inferior courts. Okay? So everything should be heard in this court. Everything's not heard in this court because the status of the people is quasi. The status of the people is non-judicial. The status of the people is de facto. So the only jurisdiction that they can be heard is in de facto jurisdictions, because they haven't corrected their position to be allowed to go here. But then, just like we're going to play a clip soon to further stress the point that it's about the people taking these positions over. Because these positions cannot be upheld by the individuals who are in those seats right now. the people that we think are the judges of the Supreme Court, those shouldn't be the people that we're relying on to administer justice. The people who say that they're Congress, those aren't the people that we should be relying on to make sure that the issue of jurisdiction is administered correctly. Because these positions have been compromised by outside parties who recognize that these jurisdictions here are created and used only for extortion and racketeering. So all these, appeals court, superior court, family court, Ontario Court of Justice, provincial court, small claims court, all of them are done under extortion, racketeering, and whatever other illegal activities that they want to do under the guise of being government.
In traffic court.
Traffic court. The trial of all crimes, except in cases of impeachment, shall be by jury. When you go to appeals court, ain't no jury there. Traffic court, no jury there. Family court, no jury there. Ontario Court of Justice, no jury there. Provincial court, maybe you might have a jury depending on the case. Small claims court, definitely no jury. So all cases or all trials of all crimes shall be by jury. And the jury should be of your own national peers. The jury cannot be by people who are foreign to who you are, because then that sets the issue of improper jurisdiction, right? And such trial shall be held in the state where the said crimes shall have been committed. But when not committed within any state, the trial shall be at a such place or places as the Congress, may have directed. Right, again, coming back to these individuals, considering themselves Congress, considering themselves Supreme Court, but the reality is that they don't have that position anymore, because the Supreme Court and Congress have sold their delegated seat of authority to international bankers and whoever else is willing to buy those seats, right? We're still going to use Supreme Court cases as case law though, right? Because the establishment of this was for it to run a certain way, not for it to go sideways. So as soon as it starts going sideways, all the right that has been done here is still valid and still stands, because they can't really dissolve this in the way that they want to. They can just sit in the seat and do messed up stuff with it. Just like they can't get rid of Morris Science Temple. They could just make it be confusing to people. They can't eliminate it. Because it eliminated, you create a bigger threat, because, why would you totally get rid of it? If it's supposed to be supreme, why would you totally get rid of Congress? Now, we're going to play this clip just so you can get a perspective of where the so-called government mindset is when it comes to the people, right? So this is Republican of Pennsylvania, John Haller, Haller. And this video was uploaded to YouTube in 2008. Right? So 2008 this video was uploaded. 2015 right now, we're getting a perspective of, what he's saying. But this was 2008, remember? So from 2008 to now, this has been their mentality, right?
Even before that, but it just came out on.
Right, yeah.
Their agenda.
Vote for approval of H.R. 8791, the Homeland Terrorism Preparedness Bill. Said bill requests emergency response funding up to and including, this section is classified, dollars to prepare for national level terrorist attack and or attack from classified. Funding for first responder personnel and vehicles will be doubled if said attack leads to more than 80% of national population being affected by classified. This funding shall commence in conjunction with the first attack on classified, or the first large-scale outbreak of classified, dependent upon which comes first. Civilian and military units shall be trained in containment and combat of classified, including irradiated classified, with possibility of classified airborne, classified flesh-eating, classified, and or all of the above in such event as classifieds during classified escape are released or otherwise become uncontrollable. Air Force units may also be directed to combat said classified due to their enormous size and otherworldly strength. Should event occur in urban areas, Jesus.
That messed them up.
That's classified, far surpassing our darkest nightmares. Should casualties exceed classified body disposal actions, shall be halted and associated resources shall be reallocated to classified underground, classified protected birthing centers. A new Bill of Rights shall be drafted and approved by classified. Having now reviewed the bill, I ask you to please cast your votes.
That's the King Alfred plan.
All right.
He had to say, he even had to say, no, you're not gonna do that to them.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one there.
What's funny is the fact that he says, after we've now reviewed the bill, and 75% of it was classified.
Yeah.
What did you guys review?
What did you review?
Yeah.
Right?
That's the King Alfred plan right there. in full
King Alfred
effect.
plan in full effect
That's
right there.
hilarious, man. These
Right?
guys said, oh, Jesus.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, I tell you
Couldn't
what,
even
it's
hold
not,
back.
it's not as funny as people think it is, because they're really
No, what I'm
talking,
just saying is the oh Jesus first.
they're really talking
mean-
about really vaporizing the so-called black people that think they're black.
Yeah. And the ones that think that they're white.
But we have to remember, it's not about status. It's not about black, white, so-called black, white. It's about the slaves. So anybody that is enslaved, that applies to.
Yeah.
Anybody under the corporate regime, that applies to. Anybody.
Man, that was a good laugh.
And they're implementing that. This is why the prisons are filled with people that look like you and I. So there are more people in prison right now in North America than were enslaved through all of slavery,
Yeah.
throughout its entire
Yeah,
existence.
and they're not just so-called, you wanna use color, like, let's go color. They're, everybody's in there.
Yeah.
So that's who they're talking about, and is gonna get vaporized.
Right. Right. So what we realize is that when they say jurisdiction and they start talking about territory, land, countries, orders given by somebody, blah blah blah, that really jurisdiction is really based on words, right? And based on making sure that you use right versus wrong words. Ultimately, to claim the correct jurisdiction based on the status that you have. So the reason why we say right words before wrong words is because jurisdiction is juris, which is right, and diction, which is words. So don't even start talking about land masses and all this type of stuff in order to claim jurisdiction. Because you're already going to be in error. Because you're going to say some word that's going to mess up your whole argument. So we have situations of people saying that this is a country. As soon as they say that's a country, they just put themselves in a wrong jurisdiction because of words. Because this is not a country, right? They say those aren't provinces. So as soon as you put this down on paper, instead of, you just created a jurisdiction by just saying ON, right? And again, right versus wrong words. If BC is British Columbia and ON is Ontario, AB is Alberta, but BC is British Columbia, ON is Ontario, but AB is Alberta, right? Letting you know that there's jurisdiction of Moors over here because they have this place called Alberta. Okay? Because AB, if this was based on this being one word, then they would say AL.
And they can't use that.
Right? And they can't use that. Because as soon as they say this, now they're using wrong words. Because this is not a corporate jurisdiction. Al is not a corporate jurisdiction. This is a Moorish title of nobility that the foreign colonizers don't have jurisdiction over this word because it's out of their jurisdiction, right? As soon as you see city of, province of, state of, country of, this is not territorial jurisdiction. Province, city, state, country are not only de jure, but they're also de facto. And certain ones are more de facto than one. So you have in the U.S. Corporation, they say NY, NJ, FL, right? ETC for the states, right? City of whatever applies to every jurisdiction. Everybody says that they have a city of something in their, under their little umbrella called, country or whatever, right? Province, you check province in there, right? Province, this is not only land masses, these are also corporate jurisdictions. So as soon as you see province of on a paper, know that they're not talking about the land mass, they're talking about the actual paper. They're not talking about out there on the street is, Eglinton Avenue. Eglinton Avenue is a private corporate jurisdiction, only on paper. Has nothing to do with that out there. People who lived out here 100 years ago didn't say that was Eglinton. 2,000 years ago, for sure that wasn't Eglinton out there. So who created the jurisdiction, or where did the jurisdiction come from for these people to say, we're going to call this, and we're going to call this, and then we're going to have this thing called a map, and then on the map it's going to tell you everywhere, whatever, when they didn't have authority to even go there, to even, that concept of claiming a jurisdiction even though somebody already has jurisdiction is based in the Roman policy of doctrine of discovery, right? And doctrine of discovery is anywhere that they see and nobody's on it, they're gonna claim it. That's why they did such a big job of killing so-called native people, no matter where they're at. Or Australia, go to South Africa, over here, wherever, individuals have been swept up in, different wars, things like that, only to get those people off of that place where they domicile, so that somebody else could come behind and say, okay, now we're going to claim it, right? Creating infighting between different tribes, right? When you look at, all these countries on the continent, right, so-called Africa, where they have neighboring tribes warring against each other, or in the same jurisdiction, no different than Dominican and Haiti. They hate each other, they're on one landmass in the ocean. And nobody can't really go anywhere. They have to deal with each other, but they're not going to see each other as one. They're going to listen to historical errors, classifying them as different things, and then go with that as what the history is. When we talked about how the Dominican national anthem in Dominican says Haiti, not Dominica. So they're letting people know that it's Haiti. But if the people are ignorant to what's going on, then they fall for whatever. Province?
Province. The district into which a country has been divided, as the province of Canterbury in England, the province of Languedoc in France, a dependency or colony, as the province of New Brunswick, figuratively, power or authority as it is the province of the court to judge the law, that of a jury to decide on the facts.
So the references that they used for province right? And then we'll say Quebec. So they already had their plan of how they're going to create the jurisdiction for here, right? It wasn't something that they didn't know what they were doing, right? Because remember that these are European nations, right? Being that they're European nations, there's no way that they have jurisdiction, right? There's no way that they have jurisdiction in Canada, or even if we say Canaan, right? They don't have jurisdiction here because these jurisdictions are Aboriginal and Indigenous, and these people are not Aboriginal and Indigenous. Okay, so you have situations where you have them claiming that they're sovereign and they don't have to be tied to this, right? And then they say we have our own language, we have our own flag, we have our own whatever like that, and they play this role like Quebec is its own jurisdiction here, right? Now, if Quebec's claiming to be sovereign, then why doesn't Ontario claim to be sovereign too? Why does Quebec want nothing to do with the jurisdiction of Canada, but Ontario is down with it? Why is it that when you go here, when you go to these places, the people here are gonna stand on what their claim is. You're not gonna go here and hear them really talk in English like just because. I mean, they'll go with French before they go with bilingual, right? But the sovereignty that they're claiming is based in France, not here. Just like the sovereignty that Ontario's exercising is based in England under the Queen. That's why the Governor General is the head of state. But it's de facto, because it's not really a head of state. It's a jurisdiction of country of, which is corporate, that has a province of, which is corporate, that has cities of, which is corporate, that are all under the jurisdiction of England. And then the U.S. has the same thing, right? The U.S. has country of, but nobody says that they're this as citizenship. Like, they don't say they're United Statesians here. They say they're American. But then, if you're saying that you're American, then you're saying that your country of is a continent. But there's no such thing as a continent being where people come from. There's no such thing as an Asian. There's Chinese, Japanese, Filipino, whatever. Indian, Hindustani, Pakistani, Sri Lankan, but there's no Asians. So there's no Americans in the context of how they're putting it, right? When they set up all the states ofs and the province ofs, remember that they used to identify these as countries before they said state of. And the reason why they call them countries is because the provinces of and the states of are really estates of. You have to check out estate. So if they claim state of, and we don't challenge them on, when you say state of, what state are you referring to? What's the jurisdiction of the state of? Is that a mental jurisdiction? Right? State of mind, dyslexic, incompetent, whatever. Is it a land jurisdiction, state of? If it's land jurisdiction, state of, then you wouldn't call it state, you'll call it territory. They wouldn't say state of. If they're talking about land, they'll say territory. That's just what it is. If you're talking country of, you would say the name of it. You just say the name of it. China. The country of China. Nobody doesn't talk like that in reality, right? But again, it comes back to, are you using right words or are you using wrong words? As soon as you start using wrong words, you create jurisdictions. As soon as you start using right words, you start eliminating jurisdictions. And the more jurisdictions that you eliminate by using right words, the broader your jurisdiction gets based on your status. Because you have to have a status in order to know what words are right to use or wrong to use. Because if you leave it up to somebody without a status, they use wrong words all the time. Call themselves black, call themselves white. It doesn't matter what you call yourself. It doesn't matter where we're from. We're all human beings and all that stuff. When it doesn't really go like that. Everybody has a national origin that has historical relations with other people of national origins. That's how you determine who's real or not. So if my history goes back to here, and then somebody's history is up there, they don't have jurisdiction to be talking about anything around here. That's the issue that we have with our people claiming that black is an identity. There's no territorial jurisdiction called black. So if they say black, ancient people, that's cross jurisdictions. Because black is modern, and there's no such thing as an ancient modern person. Either you're modern or you're ancient. Right? You had something?
Yes, more Islam. I heard you using the word of so many times, more than the rest of the words came up so many times. What does the word of actually mean?
Well, we'll get that too.
Okay.
We'll get the new century. Actually, we'll use that one. I could be obliged. You got
Estate, the interest which anyone has in land or in any other subject of property. An estate in lands, tenements, and hereditaments signifies such interest as the tenant has therein. The condition or circumstance in which the owner stands with regard to his property. In the sense, estate is constantly used in conveyances in connection with words, right, title, and interest, and is in a great degree synonymous with all of them. And then it goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
So,
All right, so what the plan was to take the E off of the states, of estate, and set up the states. But the setting up of the states is under the jurisdiction of estate, without them saying estate. Just like the jurisdiction of kid is under animals, not children. But if they get people say kid, thinking that, oh, we're talking about children, then the children turn to animals in their face, and then they don't even know that the children are animals, even though they're acting like that out there.
Yeah.
And they don't get that this is why, because they're using wrong words and creating fake jurisdictions. And once you create that fake jurisdiction, you're gonna have a problem getting out of it, because the individuals who set this up, they're not gonna let you get out of it. That's why when you go to all the stores, this is the section that they have now. They don't have children's sections anymore. There are kids sections, because their duty is to dumb people down so that they use wrong words all the time, so that they always have jurisdiction over the people. Sorry, Omar Ben.
I think that, to me, I start to see things in duality, and what I realize, I think, is that's on the lower self.
Right.
The higher self would be the sorcery and the spells behind it, which is the energy, right? Which is the stuff that they have gotten us to forget about. That there's an actual spirit behind the word, right? That I think has a lot more power to it.
Yeah.
I'll build on what Omar just said. In layman's terms, really what they're doing is hypnosis. What they call sorcery, psychology, or whatever, it's really hypnosis, playing like hypnotizing people to see these words, see these objects, see these signs and symbols, and then don't even know, like, okay, I'm gonna go to the track today and bet on horse number 8 because this number's been hitting me for the last week.
Right.
But by design, on purpose, like when somebody wants to. I was watching this movie with Will Smith called Focus.
55.
And number 55, right?
55.
You saw the movie? So this is what they're doing. And then actually there is a guy out here where they took a group of people and gave them you can see it on YouTube, where they gave them all these different tasks. You know, normal so-called law-abiding citizens to do robberies, go steal, do whatever, and they put them under this, what you're talking about, like how you said about the kids section in the store.
Right.
Actually, they did this to the people, and then these people, end up being some real good gangsters. But like when they snapped out of it, they're like, "What am I doing, trying to rob a Brinks truck?" But this is what's happening to everybody. They don't know they're getting hit by it. And then there's another movie called that they talk about. This is They Live.
Yeah.
Obey and all that stuff, and this getting back to the kid thing again. you know, when you get being called a kid and then you come into adulthood, you still got this kid animal instinct in your mind, you just turn into a bunch of animals. But anyways, go ahead, Moore.
I got just feed
Yeah,
off
Mark.
of what he was saying.
Yeah.
In terms of the numbers thing too, you notice that when you're going to buy stuff, everything's $3.99,
Yeah.
$6.49. There's a reason for that.
Right.
Number 9 has an energy to it, right? Number 3 has an energy to it. But then to even feed off of what he was saying on that movie, I never saw it, but they have something called the Stanford Prison Experiment. I don't know if anyone has studied that, but what they did was they set up, at a university, they set up a sort of a mock prison. And they put certain people as prison guards,
That was the
certain
movie.
people
I saw that.
as the
Yeah.
prisoners. And what happened is, within a very, very short time, the prisoners started to act like people, like the prisoners started to act like people who had no rights.
Right.
And the guards started
Start
to
act like
guards.
Yeah, wasn't that a Forrest Whitaker movie or something?
Yeah,
like
for
that?
Well,
Yes,
and
yes.
what-
Well,
one of the
experiment.
things- and one
Yeah,
of the things-
experiment. Yeah,
and one
that's
of the,
what it
one
was,
of the
yeah.
things that they did also, which is, and what you'll notice this too, is they had all of the prisoners wear, the prison guards wear sunglasses, because it shuts off that connection that you have with the eyes.
Oh, yeah,
And that's
yeah.
why you see 90% of the police officers are always wearing
Have their
sunglasses.
glasses, so they don't
Because
have that emotional
there's that
reaction.
that connection.
Yeah,
And the prison experiment was canceled because one of the students was killed.
Yeah.
Within the dynamic of this
Right,
thing
this
just being
thing,
a mock.
yeah.
And then there were certain prisoners who still to this day have psychological sort of trauma from that experiment.
For
So
real.
the Stanford Prison Experiment was
Yeah.
huge in sort of proving and sort of laying down the same process that they have out here.
Right.
Right?
And that was a true experiment.
That was
Yeah,
100%
that was
true. You
real.
can Google,
Yeah.
just go home and Google Stanford Prison
Yeah.
Experiment,
Yeah.
and it's there.
It's what
I
the
read a
movie's
book.
based on, yeah.
For real.
Yeah, no, it's real stuff. So, but the glasses, one of the things that I really picked up on uniforms, as well as the glasses.
Yeah.
The sunglasses were key in making sure that you don't connect with them. And that's why you notice 80% of the police officers that you deal with,
Yeah.
you notice.
When you're dealing with them, they got
They got the
specs,
glasses
yeah.
on.
Yeah.
And to build on that one more time, as Moors, Asiatic Moabites, you know, this is why myself personally, when I found my way home, to dress as an Asiatic as close as possible to
Yeah.
ancient ancestors, because
Islam.
the way I'm being dealt with now from the way I was being dealt with when I just wear,
Exactly.
Nigger clothes.
yes, so-called nigger clothes, yes, yeah.
Not so-called, nigger clothes.
Well, nigger clothes, yes, 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 yes.
It's all clothing, it's just a matter of how it's being worn.
Yeah.
Right, because
Yeah.
everything's ours anyway, right?
Well, I put my own twist on it with that. You know, even when I do wear those nigger clothes, they're saying, gee, that's a different one.
That's
right
a
there.
different one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's not a regular.
Exactly.
So anyway, right? So, but getting to what I'm saying is the way they deal with us when we're using our nationality for taxes, it's no problem.
Yeah.
But if I have civilian clothes on, it becomes a problem.
It's a fight.
Yeah, but if I'm fezzed up, garbed up, or whatever,
Right.
no problem. They don't even go through all that static.
Right.
Yeah. When in fact, they will tell you who you are.
Yeah.
Yes.
You don't have to tell them. They will
Yeah.
tell you
Yeah.
who you are.
Willingly too.
Yes.
No fighting.
Yeah, even our own people. This next door just now, I just went into the so-called South Asian shop where they think
Yeah.
of African clothing.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just said to the brother a couple quick words about 2 continents, and he said, "You're the original people here." His wife wasn't getting it. I bought a few things from him. His
Yeah.
wife never got it right, but he got it right away. He's from the Congo.
From the Congo. So the
Yeah.
Congo knows that we're not from on that side.
Yes,
They know we're from on this side.
yes,
With feathers on and all that.
yes, yes.
Right?
Islam, more. Go ahead.
You got off back there, bro?
Yes.
Of.
When unstressed. Derived or coming from, originating at or from. Men of the North, for example. Caused by, resulting from, a death of tuberculosis. Away from, at a distance from, a mile east of here.
Right? So the jurisdiction of falls into different categories. Right? It's relative in different ways. So when we say city of Toronto, Just hit of again.
Is to continue. That was the first three installments in the definition. The fourth hits to the point. So as to be separated or relieved from, robbed of one's dignity, cured of distemper.
And that's
What
what
did you say the fourth one?
The fourth,
Yeah, what was the fourth one?
fourth installment under the definition.
You're saying the fourth entry into
The
it.
fourth entry. So,
Yeah.
as to be separated or relieved from, robbed of one's dignity, for example, cured of distemper, for example. The fifth entry, from the total or group comprising, give of one's time, two of her friends, most of the class.
So if the city is of Toronto, then the jurisdiction relies with or lies in Toronto, not the city. Right? If the state of province of, state of, city of, the jurisdiction actually resides here relative to the territory. So if city of Toronto gives a ticket and they say corporation of the city of Toronto, but they never tell you this part, then you would think that this has to do with the territory of that. When the reality is that city of is really corporation of the city of whatever. State province of Ontario is really the corporation of the province of Ontario. Corporation of the state of New York. And they leave this off because they can't let you know that they're using wrong words and setting up jurisdictions.
There's a legal definition of as well.
It's there? Let's shoot
Oh,
it.
yeah, that's great. The legal definition of is great too, because that little word is so powerful.
So it's of, a term denoting that which anything proceeds, indicating origin, source, descent, and like, as he is of a race of king. He is of noble blood, associated with or connected with, usually in some casual relation, efficiency, material, formal, or final. And then it says the word has been held equivalent to after, at, or belonging to, in possession of.
Right? So it's been held relative to after, at, and belonging to. City after Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense because, this wasn't always Toronto.
Exactly.
It was something before that. So the city of is really after Toronto.
Yes.
Whatever it is, whatever they created, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Because it's after, and we're dealing with what the origin is.
Going back to what you had said, Grand Sheik, black cannot be ancient.
Right.
Hey, it's not.
Okay. City at Toronto would be more to where we want to go if we're gonna say city and Toronto, right? That we're at Toronto, right? At the city of Toronto, at the province of Ontario. Because if we're at it, we're not in it, which is a different jurisdiction. You meet you at the store, or I meet you in the store. If you think I meant in when I meant at, then you'll be inside, I'll be outside waiting each other. I think that you're Nate, you're a black time and all that stuff, and I'll leave. When it was really miscommunication, right? And again, miscommunication again is wrong words. Saying things out of context, right? You had
You're
something?
probably gonna hit it next, but belonging to makes a lot of sense when you put it into a corporate state. So when it says
Right.
City of Toronto, we know Toronto's a corporation, so if they're saying City of Toronto, so they're basically saying the city belongs to the
Belongs
corporation.
to the corporation, right? Right. So if you say that you're a resident of the city belonging to Toronto, then that means that you're their property. And if you're their property, then that means you don't have this. Which is why we do what we do, to bring people to awareness that this is something that exists, that they need to tie themselves to. And that if they're not tying themselves to this, if you're not trying to tie yourself to status, and you have no status, that's why black lives don't matter. Because there's no status called black that all these people can tie themselves to. There's no status called African, because just right down there, they told you that we're from the Congo. They didn't say we're African.
No.
Because that's corruption. That's wrong words. That's setting up jurisdiction. Now, you're gonna have so-called conscious black people talk like the people on the continent are down with how we talk, and they're not down with how we talk, right? They get little benefits or whatever to talk to us how we talk. Amongst themselves, they don't say, they're African or whatever like that, Only when they're talking to us would they say black people and whatever. They talk among themselves. They don't talk like that. That people are colors. They don't say yellow people and white people. That's not how they talk, right? If also keep in mind that with jurisdiction meaning right words, right? Some people are gonna say, for example, people are gonna say lawful, legal, right? And then anything that's opposite this, they're not gonna call it unlawful. They're gonna call it illegal, even though they're relating it to lawful. So as soon as they say illegal instead of unlawful, then that they just created a jurisdiction that's kind of this, but not really, because illegal does not supersede unlawful, because everything is about law, right? This only applies administratively, right? Legal and illegal, lawful. This is a broader jurisdiction. Okay, just like if we say law or we say jurisprudence, right? Juris, right? Because it has to be there. It has to be right in order for it to be legit. It cannot be contrary to right. And then remember that right is feminine. Okay? So it's about making sure, in order for us to have jurisdiction in the territory, that we're using the right words. Because if we use the wrong words, then there's opportunity for violations against us. Because we're going, if we don't make the right claim, the wrong claim stands. If we don't make the correct claim, so if we claim to have a nationality, but instead of saying that our nationality is Moorish American, we say our nationality is Moorish Canadian because, we're in Canada. Why would we be Moorish American if we're in Canada? Then we just set up a jurisdiction because Canada is a private corporation. So you're saying you're a Moorish private corporation, opposed to Moorish American, which the American is tying you to this vast landmass that goes from Alaska to Chile, right? American ties us to that, and Moorish ties us to the jurisdiction that's above South America, right? Because Mexico and anything above Mexico is Morocco, historically. In Reconstruction history, above Mexico is United States and Canada. And like we said, the people who are claiming that they're living in the United States don't say that they're United Statesians, which they should if they're from the United States. But they don't. So obviously, either the people called United Statesians don't exist, which would mean that the place called United States doesn't exist if there's no such thing as United Statesians, right? Because as far as the claim of jurisdiction in the territory, that could only be done by individuals of the territory. That's why they never go here. They never go to territory. They always make claims based on the person. How do you identify them? What you got in your wallet? Do you have money in your pocket or whatever like that to get the actual body in the jurisdiction? Or they use subject matter. And subject matter is going to be based in some type of contract that we signed that made the law. Okay, so person or personam jurisdiction is the jurisdiction over the body, the jurisdiction over the actual individual. Who has jurisdiction over the body? Does the court, does the police, does whatever, or does that individual have jurisdiction over themselves? Subject matter, right, is what's being discussed, what's happening, how do they have subject matter jurisdiction and personam or jurisdiction over the person, because more than likely this person has some type of instrument that ties them to the jurisdiction that is gonna hear whatever's going on. And then if they don't have these two jurisdictions, then they'll assume this one under doctrine of discovery. But the Pope just renounced doctrine of discovery and all that stuff. So they can't claim this now. This got wiped out from them. Like, they can't claim the territory. They do it because of people's ignorance, but they can't do it because doctrine of discovery is dead now.
And what does territory mean legally and definition?
Okay, now we'll say
Or I should have said lawfully.
hmm?
I should have said lawfully. Instead of legally.
Right?
Lawfully.
Exactly, right? What is it lawfully?
Yeah, you gotta
Opposed,
practice.
it takes practice. That's it's gonna be, because we've been played for
Well,
a long time.
Right from the womb.
Yeah, we've been played for a long time.
Because if your mother sold you out, and you love your mother, the only one that you really should trust, but if she sold you out without knowing, how are you
Then-
supposed to really?
Right, get out of it.
Yeah.
Right,
Territory.
yeah,
Territory. A part of a country separated from the rest and subject to a particular jurisdiction. And then they have an American law definition. Want me to get into that? Or
Yeah.
I think that pretty much sums it up.
yeah, okay. Part of a country,
So American law is a portion of the United States not within the limits of any state, which has not yet been admitted as a state of the Union, but is organized with a separate legislature and with executive and judicial officers appointed by the president.
all right? So, if the portion of the US, right, portion of United States, right? So we know that there's United States and then United States of America. United States of America is the whole thing. United States is just Washington, D.C. So if territory is portion of United States, but then the first installment was part of a country, if this is a corporation, then there's no such thing as territories of this. Like it doesn't exist that there's territories of U.S. It doesn't exist that there's territories of Canada. Because corporations can't, there's no territory of McDonald's. No territory of Burger King. Maybe that building is their jurisdiction. Outside of that building is whatever's outside the building. All right? And again, part of a country. So when we say Ontario territory on whatever mail or anything that we write, they know that this is not tied to ON. Because when I put this, the stuff still gets to where it's going. So you don't have to put this then. If I can put this and the stuff still get there. And if I can put this or this and the stuff still get there, then we have to go into, what's prior, what else is there? Okay, well there's, M2M, 1T. Right. So the postal code is really what sets up for their jurisdiction to be able to put mail out. It's not the quote-unquote address or the residence. It's not the city and the province and all that stuff. All that stuff is extra. What they're really using is this postal code. Right? Because that sets up a jurisdiction. So now, we always make sure that when we write this, we put it in brackets. So they have an idea of where this is in their jurisdiction. Because we still have to use them for mail or whatever like that. Right? And you could do it with yourself. Send in things to yourself. So you have, we have situations like Moors sending stuff to each other. Right? You send something in the straw name, it gets there. Send something in free national name, it doesn't get there. Right? So you would write it so that it's tied to the territory, right? And it would be, this is how they use their care of whatever whoever you're sending it to. So you're not being the all capital letters name. Because what they would do is say, they would say, okay, well, this letter is supposed to be going to Kudrow, but Kudrow is not listed on this quote unquote address. There's another name on the address. So if mail's not getting to Kudrow, you put Kudrow care of then the other name.
Right.
Right.
They can't stop it from.
Because they can't stop it from going to the actual name that's on the deed, whatever like that.
They don't know who's
Because-
at that spot. Yes.
Right. With regard to the whole jurisdiction thing, we're gonna just listen to another little clip with regard to the jurisdiction of Canada. It's only about 14 minutes.
Hey, we're talking about Canada is a state in the United States of America. And let's talk about that today. This is taken from the Articles of Confederation, Article 11, which were ratified on the 9th of July, 1778. It says, Canada acceding to this confederation and adjoining in the measures of the United States shall be admitted to and entitled to all advantages of this union, but no other colony shall be admitted into the same unless such admission be agreed to by 9 states. So the interesting thing here is that, first of all, Canada can join anytime they want, but no other colony can be admitted, and I suspect that there are other colonies that are part of the United States, possibly Australia, and it's hard to say which other ones, but I think Australia, United States is pretty cozy with Australia, I should say. Anyways, the interesting thing is that Canada in 1778 did not exist. There was a colony called Upper Canada, which is now called Ontario. There was a colony called Lower Canada, which is now called Quebec. Canada did not exist till 1867 when the British North America Bill was passed by the Parliament of England. This is taken from an act to extend the laws of the United States over the state of Texas. And this was approved on the December 29th, 1845 by the 29th Congress, and you can find this at Book 9 of the U.S. Statutes at Large, page 1. And after the preamble of the act, it says that all the laws of the United States are hereby declared to extend to and over, and to have full force and effect within the state of Texas, admitted at the present session of Congress into the Confederacy and the Union of the United States. So that tells me two things. It tells me that there's two entities. There's a confederation, there's and the Union. And so, and it also tells me the Confederacy is alive and well. Some people say that when the Constitution was written that the Confederacy went away. Well, that's not the truth, okay? This act is saying that the Confederacy is still there to this day. In fact, if you read the Articles of Confederation, it says a perpetual union. That means forever. And so, anyways, this is talking about two entities, and is saying that the Confederacy is still alive and well. And it's not the Confederacy that was involved with the Civil War, because that Confederacy didn't exist for another probably 20 years, 15, 20 years from after that. Anyways, so let's keep moving here. This is taken from Texas Government Code, section 541.002. It says, state has a meaning assigned by section 311.005 and includes the province of Canada. And then if you go to 311.005, which is in the bottom, it says, state, when referring to a part of the United States, includes any state, district, commonwealth, territory, insular possession of the United States, and any area subject to the legislative authority of the United States. And so Canada is a state, as defined by all of that. And we're going to show how there is legislation that Congress is passing that affects Canada. And Canada is actually mentioned in a lot of statutes These are just a couple, you know, but they're mentioned in a lot of them. This is actually the Securities Act of 1933, which was approved May 27, 1933, and it's found at 48 Stat 74. That's Book 48 of the Statutes at Large, page 74. The term separate account means an account established and maintained by an insurance company pursuant to the law of any state or territory of the United States, the District of Columbia, or of Canada, or of any province thereof. And so here you got U.S. Congress passing laws for Canada. And this is the SEC's website. And if you see here, you do a search, an Edgar search. And so anyways, this is the SEC's website, and it shows Canada is in the District of Columbia. And so how can Articles of Confederation talk about Canada joining the United States when Canada did not exist and would not exist for another 89 years? I guess, you know, there's a conspiratorial view of history, and a lot of people think that nothing happens by accident. Matter of fact, I think it was Woodrow Wilson said that nothing in politics happens by accident. Anyways, there's a guy by the name of Tupper Saucy that wrote a book called Rulers of Evil, and which is a history of the Jesuits. And he suggests in that book that the War of Independence was orchestrated by the Jesuits, and that's entirely possible. I'm not saying that it was or was not. I'm just saying that it's certainly food for thought, and it's entirely possible. There's a guy by the name of Albert Pike who wrote a book called Morals and Dogma. Albert Pike was a lawyer, which speaks volumes by itself. He was also a Confederate general. He was the leader of the Freemasons, and he was an admitted Luciferian. And he predicted there'd be 3 world wars, and there's 2 of them that have obviously happened, and it looks like we're getting ready for number 3. You know, I take more of the view that very little happens by accident. Matter of fact, if you read near-death experiences, you'll see that very little happens by accident. Anyways, there is an American empire, and Canada is part of it. There's used to be, if you do research in the United States Code in Title 28, you'll find out that there used to be a U.S. District Court for the District of China. And this is also, I'm talking about this act to provide for the civil code of the Canal Zone, and this was approved on February 27, 1933, and you can find that at Book 48 or Book 47 of the Statutes at Large, page 1346. And so here the U.S. Congress is passing laws for the Panama Canal Zone, and so and it's been going on at least since 1904. This is another excerpt from the Securities Act of 1933, and it says, when using this title, unless the context otherwise requires, the term territory means Alaska, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, the Philippine Islands, the Canal Zone, the Virgin Islands. Okay, so now you have Congress passing laws for the Philippines as well, and there's court cases that talk about the Philippines being part of the United States. So obviously there's an American empire. Obviously, if you think about it, when the United States goes in and liberates some country, which, you know, basically conquers some country, when they liberate some country, then they become part of the United States. And Kuwait is a perfect example. We all know about the Kuwaiti war that happened back in the early 90s. And it's interesting to note that I worked for a company that put VIP interiors in heavy jets. And there was a Kuwait state airplane there. It was a 737 business jet, and it was a Boeing business jet actually. And so what happened is it had State of Kuwait written across the side of it, just like it would if it had State of Texas or State of Arizona. Think about it. That's exactly what's going on. So Kuwait is part of the American empire. It's very subtle, but it's all there, right there in front of us. There's 3 kinds of people in the world. There's those who make things happen, there's those who watch things happen, and there's those who wonder what happened. And so I try not to be one of those who wonder what happened. I try to be one of those who watch things happen. And so hopefully by watching this video that you will be on your path to being one of those who watch things happen. You know, whether we are ones that make things happen or not is yet to be seen. Maybe with my videos that I could be instrumental in making things happen, but who knows? I mean, I would never be so presumptuous to say that I'm, someone in that category. Anyways, now I have some other videos that further support this and these ideas. I've got a video called Bankrupt Corporate So-Called Governments, where it shows that all governments are de facto, not all, but many governments are de facto. They're corporate governments, they have no authority, and they're bankrupt, and they're owned and operated by the bankster thieves. And that brings us to the next video that I want to talk about, is the bankster thieves and how they orchestrated the subprime crisis. I've got Bankster Thieves 1 and 2 up there. I'm preparing a Bankster Thieves number 3 that shows modern money mechanics and how the Bankster Thieves don't loan anything. Well, there are no bank loans in America or Canada. That this money is that they don't loans. They don't make loans, and so all these loans are a fraud for them to call them a loan, and they're all in breach of trust. Anyways, that's going to be the third video, but the first and second video goes through and talks about how they orchestrated the subprime crisis, and it's all planned and orchestrated, and by these bankster thieves, and it's been going on for decades. There's also a video called De Facto Courts. There are no lawful, actually I shouldn't say there are none, there are very few lawful courts in America or Canada. And when you watch this video, it goes through the case law and the law dictionary definitions and explains it all, and you'll see what I'm talking about. The next video is bar members. All bar members are foreign agents of the Crown, and the Crown is owned and operated by the Vatican. And so I would highly recommend you watch some of these videos. If you're interested in this stuff, you will find it enlightening. I hope that you find it enlightening. Another video is churchianity. Most churches are not Christian. They claim to be Christian, but they are not, and they're actually, in my opinion, satanic. And then there's the United Nations clerks masquerading as judges in Canada that I have been forced to deal with, and so then that's what that video is about some clerks masquerading as judges, and their quasi-contracts and their Roman civil law. It's all fictitious. It's all coming from the Vatican. And then there's the Canada Border Pigs video. You're going to like that one. And PIG, by the way, is an acronym. It stands for Persons in Government Who Intend to Perjure Their Oath. And so there's lots of pigs out there. And anyways, some upcoming videos that I'm planning on making or in the process of making. I have one on Unidroit and how Unidroit is unconstitutional in Canada and United States. And elsewhere, actually, and there's court cases.
Sounds like you been hanging out with Taj, baby.
So, he's hanging out with somebody. So we have a conspiratorial historic perspective that we have to be looking at society in. Whatever's going on there right now is not normal. Right? Like, whatever we see going on out there is not normal. Right? People have been blindfolded. People have been under indoctrination, brainwashed, etc., to think that whatever's going on out there, cars driving by, ring the bell, stock exchange in the morning and all that stuff is real. That's not, all that stuff is fiction. So we have to get in our mind that things that we thought were legitimate are not legitimate. Things that we thought were reality are actually a fiction. Some things that were mentioned, American Empire. He's referring to U.S. Corporation, right? But this is one of those jurisdiction games that even our people play. So they would say, wilderness of North America, try to get you to detach. They'll say, America, and then put a triple K here to imply that, continent violated somebody, right? And they'll never identify who the violator is. They always play the violator as, they don't know, whatever, white man and devil and whatever, when, they know who it is. Because the same people who put them in enslavement. And those people go back to some type of nation. And they know that it's Dutch. They know that it's English and those people. But as soon as they start saying that, now they're attacking who they consider their God. Now once they attack their God, then they're on the defensive. They're on the march and picket. But if they want to go to Congo or whatever, they'll quickly put on US military and go over there, kill some people that never did nothing to them. But people here in their face, shooting people and all that, they'll do nothing to them. Grandma's store, they'll burn that down, but they'll never burn down a police station. But then go march, picket, and million-man march, let's all go to Washington, and then they're going to give the quote-unquote white man all the money for gas, give the quote white man all the money for sneakers or whatever like that. They're going to need so much sneakers when they go for that walk.
And
But
go to sleep.
not acknowledge their hypocrisy, right? So when he's saying American Empire, right, we're going back to Amir, right? Amir, which is a Moorish title of nobility, right? Americans, which is not European, right? He brought up Texas government code that had Canada mentioned in it. Texas, that they have jurisdiction over here, but Texas is way down south or whatever, but they have jurisdiction here, right? Going back to the same thing about the words, right? Because code is unlawful. Code is not constitution. So with regard to codes, just quickly, Article 6 of the Constitution. All debts contracted and engagements entered into before the adoption of this Constitution shall be valid against the United States under this Constitution as under the Confederation. This Constitution and the laws of the United States which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary, right, code, to the contrary of the Constitution, because if the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, then the Texas government code should be in the Constitution, if it's legitimate. If the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, then the Constitution Act of Canada should be in the Constitution. So if you read the Constitution and you don't see Highway Traffic Act in there, then that means that the Highway Traffic Act is not law. It's just something that they created to get people to contract, and when they contract with them, then they use that code or act or whatever as the law to hold these people to the contract.
And that's when he was talking about, I heard him mention insurance companies,
Right.
and they're one of the,
And they're in on the game as well,
yes.
right? Because you have to have the insurance before you can get the plate. Because there's a contract between those people that they're not saying that, oh, we have a contract with the insurance people that make sure that you follow the rules. And if you don't follow the rules, then you're subject to whatever law they created, which is not constitutional. Right? State of Kuwait. Right? That has no jurisdiction in the U.S. Or does it? Because State of Kuwait is of U.S. Just like Liberia is a state of the U.S., but it's not in the U.S., that's in the continent. But Liberia has nothing to do with the continent of Africa. That's a United States jurisdiction that they set up in order so that the so-called slaves of Africa have somewhere there to go back to, because nobody there is not accepting them, because they're not from there. So they had to create a fake jurisdiction to get the people to say, yeah, we're African now because we can go to Liberia. But Liberia was created by U.S. Corporation, so doesn't that mean that you're U.S. property if you claim to go back to Liberia? Congress passing laws for the Philippines. And once again, that's why we have the picture up there. Moro, not Filipino. Because the Philippines know that that's a fraud. They're not Filipino. Congress passing laws for Philippines would mean that the jurisdiction of the Philippines has some type of contract, agreement, treaty, or whatever with U.S. in order for the corporation, U.S. Congress, to be able to pass laws for them. United States Security and Exchange Commission. Canada's business number on the United States Security and Exchange Commission 0000230098. It'll tell you that the maple leaf flag is the logo of Canada Corporation. They'll tell you that the Canadian Embassy in Washington, D.C. is the head office of Canadian Corporation. They'll tell you how much shares that they sold and all that type of stuff. And, it's information that's out there, letting people know that Canada is not a country. It's a private corporation that belongs to the U.S. Corporation, which is not a country. That's a private corporation that belongs to England, which is the private corporation belongs to Rome, and then right? So jurisdiction, on top of what you might read in Black's Law Dictionary, Etymology Dictionary, also do the etymology of all words so you can get a deeper perspective. Jurisdiction, on top of what you read in the dictionaries, etymologically, jurisdiction really is right words. That's ultimately what it comes down to. If you use right words, then you'll stay out of those people's jurisdiction. If you use wrong words, you could get tied up in it. Right? Because it's all about the words that we use. So we got about 15 minutes. We just open the floor for questions, comments, or whatever else people want to put out there. Oh yeah, I know you got something with the tires or whatever. You put that out there.
Something I also noted that he was saying, which was interesting, which correlates to how they look at it in Egypt. He called Upper Canada is Ontario and Lower Canada is Quebec. But if you look at the maps now, that wouldn't make any sense. They have Upper Egypt and Lower Egypt is in the same thing. So the bottom is Upper Egypt and the top is Lower Egypt. So I don't know if you guys have ever seen the concept where you flip the maps up and that's what the world really looks like. But he's like, the information is out there, but it's subtle. Not a lot of people are gonna put two and two together. He said Upper Canada, which is Ontario, which is below Quebec, and then he said Lower Canada, which is Quebec, which is above Ontario.
Which is more north.
So it wouldn't make any sense,
right?
Unless you flip the maps upside down.
Right.
And that's you was there, but me and Omar were watching Setting Rise. Setting Rise class, and then they're breaking that down and they flip the map and they're like, yo, that's what it really looks like. But they have everybody believing that Europe is at the top, and like Africa and all the other countries are below.
Right, yeah.
But it's actually upside down, and Europe is at the bottom, and all the other countries are above it.
Great psychology.
Yeah, crazy
Just like
psychology.
we're in Africa and thinking Africa's over there.
Yeah, I don't think there was no online questions. So yeah, so if we wanna we can get a couple questions up before we close out.
I just wanted to finish to hear what the definition was for territory. We didn't get a chance.
Oh, for that dictionary, yeah. And just quick announcement, next week, there's no class next week. We're gonna be at the Toronto Natural Hair Show, which is at the Japanese Canadian Cultural Center at 5 Garamond Court, Don Mills in Eglinton. I think it starts at 12 to 7, 8 or something like that. So we're gonna be there vending, and we also have a workshop dealing with racial profiling, police carding and racial profiling. So there's no class next week. We'll continue the week after. Territory?
Territory, an area of land, a region. The land and waters under the jurisdiction of a government. A political subdivision of a country. A geographic region such as colonial possession that is dependent on an external government. The territories of the Holy Roman Empire.
And then you see the reference that they use.
The Holy Roman Empire, yes.
Good. The reference that they use, the Holy Curia, because that's their jurisdiction. So they're not gonna go outside of their jurisdiction. They want you to come into theirs. They're not gonna go into your jurisdiction to get you. They're gonna get you to fall into their jurisdiction.
And this is why we must make a special appearance at court.
Right.
We don't appear in court.
Right. And as well, for making an appearance, because if you don't claim that you're making an appearance, then
Not there.
you're not there, even though you're there. Because just like the land, when it comes to the person, the jurisdiction is on paper. So, special appearance is Cujo L. Not there. Is John Smith written in all capital letters.
Mhm.
Okay, so their idea, their perspective is people are dumbed down so they don't even know what's going on, right? So judge says, John Smith gonna come up front or whatever. John Smith comes up, how do you plead not guilty or whatever? I didn't do anything, blah blah. Go through the stuff, adjudicated, and then whatever happens, right? John Smith is basing going to court as him, the body, when in reality, John Smith is just the name written on the paper in all capital letters, not the individual.
Corporate entity.
And once they say, how do you plead, and then use whatever, you just agree that you're this. And then once you agree that you're this, then pretty much they have jurisdiction to do whatever they want to do. Throw it out, give you time, whatever, kidnap you, whatever they want to do, they'll do. In this situation, special appearance, even if they kidnap, jail, whatever like that, in this status, making a special appearance, you have some type of recourse. In this, you have no recourse. Whatever they do, you're gonna say, oh, well, they railroad me, I'm gonna appeal. You appeal, right? They're gonna either deny it, or they're gonna send it back, and then they'll do the same thing to you again.
Or they'll uphold
Right?
whatever.
Or uphold whatever adjudication, whatever decision was made in that case. So anytime Moors go to court, we always make a special appearance. And as well, the special appearance is going to be that jurisdiction receiving something from the national, letting that jurisdiction know that we'll be appearing. Don't assume that I'm whatever name that you guys got in your records or whatever like that, because I'm not that, regardless of what it says in their records. Because they would claim jurisdiction, right? And you don't want them claiming jurisdiction, because once they claim jurisdiction, then you have none. And another thing is that anytime we're in our correct status and we do go into these venues, that our duty is to challenge the jurisdiction. And same thing, you're not going to go in there to say anything off the top of your head. If you're saying something based on whatever paperwork you sent into the court letting them know of your special appearance, and that's all you're talking about. And anything that you do send in should be based on status being the first issue. So anybody who's in there, you got to put your status on the record first. On top of putting your status on the record, you also have to put where you got your authority from to even make some claim and have me in here. You know, what is their license? Do they have bond numbers, or are they just guys just, you know, coming from down the street, put on a black robe, sit in a seat, say that they're a judge, right? And once status is established, then we're gonna go find out, okay, now what type of jurisdiction is in this matter? Do they have personam jurisdiction? Well, they can't have personam jurisdiction over the body, because, you know, the name that they got isn't the name that whatever, so they don't have jurisdiction there. Subject matter jurisdiction, this has to do with driving or something like that, right? Child support, debts, right? Well, they don't have jurisdiction here because, you know, we're travelers. We're travelers, so they don't have any jurisdiction dealing with driving matters.
Yes.
Child support, well, you know, our children are really heirs, not children, right? Or, you know, kids. So they don't have jurisdiction there. Debts, well, debts can only be paid with gold and silver. Debts can't be paid with anything other than gold and silver. And then you can't pay a debt with a debt. And all the finance that we have are debt instruments. Whether it's card, credit card, debit card, whatever, Dexit, whatever, Bitcoins, whatever, all of that is debt. So they don't have jurisdiction there.
And the U.S. fiat has on the fiat note, this is a debt note.
Debt note,
Not legal tender.
right?
Like, they don't hide it.
They don't hide it. But then, you know, why hide? People are stupid. They don't need to hide, because people don't know the difference from day and night. People say sun rises,
Right.
sun sits there.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You know, people say good morning, or then that has to do with death, and they want people to have good days or whatever.
That's what he said
right here.
today.
You know?
It says, this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private.
You see that?
Right?
Did you ever read that before today?
No.
Now you know.
Right here on the bottom.
Tires? No, just put that.
Yeah, yeah.
You got a question, bro? Or you
Yeah,
just?
yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so where can I learn more about Canada's corporate identity?
The best place, you have the, well, it's not really that you're gonna learn more about it, right? We put it there what it is. It's a corporation. It can be. You're not necessarily gonna learn more, but you're gonna verify it. So you're gonna verify when you go to. You can research. 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 You can re the Organization of American States, right, or OAS, and all the countries in the OAS that are against Canada being part of the Organization of American States. Like arguing that Canada shouldn't be here because they're not a country. So why are they here? They're not an American country. They're a dominion of the Queen. So they have no jurisdiction to even be in any Pan-American conference, any Organization of American States meetings, anything having to do with American jurisdictions. They can't really be there, right? So it's more verifying that you're going to do it, that they're corporate, because it's not like if you do your research on Canada, more than likely they'll take you to 1867 and then go forward from there, right? You go to Declaration of Independence, you have, a little bit further back. Prior to that, it's Aboriginal Indigenous history that you're going to find, as far as Canada's concerned. Right?
But to keep it the simplest, look in the telephone book, in the white pages, and if you know what the white pages are, then you know that no countries are listed there. Canada is. Canada's listed as a corporation, right there in your face.
Is it the section with the blue?
No, the white pages of the white pages of the telephone book. So the corporate registry would be in some telephone books the blue section.
Yeah, the blue, the section with the blue, yeah.
Right, and that's where all business registry is. So there's private, well, the so-called private, the individual, is in a different section. The corporate section is that section. Canada's there.
So we wanted to just get Brother Rafael just to put on the record his little stuff that he experienced with exercising his right to not get taxed on purchases. So we've had people, different stores, mainly low level stuff, convenience stores, supermarkets, retail stores, people with school using their ID, certain things. But this one was interesting because they acknowledged it, but they didn't want to give verification that they acknowledged it or whatever. So we just want to let you know how it goes. So you could just put that on the record. So, and then also to put your status up there too.
Lord El Rock El.
Islam.
American. Thanks everybody to be here. Yeah, I was with the goddess on the weekend. We ordered a tire, like 2 tires in alignment the day before, and they're saying that they put in with the tire, they put in with their labor. So they weren't really giving me the actual like amount for the tire and stuff. So anyways, we went there yesterday, and I seen it's like a European-based store. It was I'm not sure I can say the name.
Yeah, you put them on there.
Yeah, Carco Tires Inc. at 264 Fairall Street, Ajax. So I was there. I was telling them, I was trying to get a basic rundown on the prices and everything, and they weren't really like telling me, like sloughing me off and stuff. So I told them what if I have a native nationality card or whatever, right? So they're like, or at first I asked the lady, I said, so like, does people coming here not pay any taxes or whatever? She said only like retail, like people that actually have a card that goes and buys the stuff them wholesale or whatever from only companies or whatever, and then they'll buy it and then they'll add the tax to it, and then the people like pay for it with the tax and stuff. So I was like, that's kind of funny how the corporations get the people to pay tax when it's coming from their labor, and labor is supposed to be non-taxable or whatever. So there was a next Indian from India there, and I was telling him that I was actually Aboriginal, indigenous to this land, right? And he was looking at me like from Africa or whatever, right? So he was assuming and stuff. So I pulled up my card and I showed him, and for some reason, like he looked at it and then he said, "Oh yeah, it's real. It has a Canadian flag on it and stuff." So I said, like, no, like you could look at it again or whatever. Right? So when the dude, like the lady, she was like, "So what tribe are you from?" Like, I'm like, well, you know those Indians that you see on TV and stuff. I'm not one of those guys. Those guys are like the Sixth Nation, whatever. We're like the first 5 nation. We're like the 5th nation, right? So she's like, so what's the name of your tribe or whatever? I'm like, just look up Moorish. Just look up Moorish American. Moors, Moors. And she just went online and she looked. She's like, oh, there's lots of stuff. I said, yeah, I have a tax exempt number 2AA 222141. And she was gonna look all that stuff up, but then the other Indian guy, he's just there interrogating me and asking me all types of stuff, and then she's like, she doesn't know how to put it through the register and everything. Everything's all automatic or whatever. I'm like, well, you're gonna have to try, because I put my card down, it's right there, and and said she's gonna call the owner. Right, so she instead of calling the owner, she's just there in front of me texting. So I didn't know what she was saying or whatever, but then I guess the owner texts back in like a minute, and she's like, the owner said to just give me what I want still. So I was like surprised, and she went and told the Indian guy, and then suddenly everybody just started to treat me different, asked me for coffee, tea, sit down, made me play. They had this Pac-Man game that has all types of stuff on it. Sorry that I'm a little nervous and stuff, but but, yeah, like I thought it was gonna be hard because I thought I'd have to like wait for manager and this and that, but just something just told me in my heart like today was the day to just put my stuff down and like be me, So just wanted to tell you guys that I can pass this stuff around. Oh yeah, so when she was giving me the receipt, they were like all fidgety and stuff, and then I guess she pressed the button and did it all wrong, so the receipt came out all crinkled up or whatever. And because we used a debit card, she said that she couldn't do it again because then she had to charge me or whatever. But I just looked at it as Allah, God Most High, telling me to just keep exercising my rights and stuff and see who can go from there. But it says on there, she also said that because of the receipt, she'll sign her name and stuff, and because I told her I needed the receipts for like Revenue Canada purposes and all that stuff, and and so that just pass that around, and you guys look at it, give thanks, Islam.
Right, so just another situation, just to put out there that nationality is the order of the day, and it is something that people are hip to. It's not like they don't know when we say that we're Moorish. Just like the brother said, when they went to the store, immediately, Congolese recognize that, oh, he's on this side. You're not from over there, you're from over here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Immediately they recognize, Just like with the brothers with the Hindu stores where they go get their Moroccan wear. Hindus dealing with them on levels like, these people are royalty or whatever. You know what I mean?
I have a question for you, just maybe sort of general. For let's say people who come into the naturalization process here, what would maybe something like that, how would that sort of play itself out? I don't know if that's something that
Yeah.
and how would that sort of then be exercised?
Yeah.
out there.
If you go for people who are diverse.
Not to cut you off, you mean something like a Japanese, Chinese?
Well, I think they have their
whatever?
own well, they would be
Yeah.
Asiatics. But
Yeah, they'll be Asiatics,
But
yeah.
I mean, you said.
Well, so I'm sort of maybe saying
Natural-
Europeans,
right.
as an example.
The idea is that majority of Europeans realize that something's wrong with the system,
Mhm.
right? Because they're getting caught up in you know what I mean, the
Oh, yeah,
undercurrent
just like-
as well.
Just
Right.
like these ones that
Yeah, all right.
they didn't know that.
Yeah, they didn't have the knowledge, right?
No, yeah.
So they've contracted themselves to the country under the assumption that it's a country, when it's really a private corporation.
And ultimately, they have been receiving the benefits for a while, and now they're become.
Now they've become the new black people, getting the abuse or whatever, and black people are becoming exterminated.
Right.
So Europeans are about to go get slotted into the black plug or whatever, right? Mainly poor whites, poor Europeans, right? Because the elite, they don't, you know what I mean? They got, escape capsules and stuff. So they're not gonna get swat up in it. So when you do your research on all these different, whether it's elite or whether it's low-level Europeans that are taking the perspective of standing up for rights, not just sitting back just because, founder of America, George Washington, whatever like that, John A. McDonald, so we're down with this. No, they realize that something's wrong, and they're actually doing things just like the brother that we just played or whatever. Yeah. That's a European.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And he's standing up for rights. He's talking about Congress ain't legit, UN's not legit, UN's got
Everything that we're saying.
you know what I mean? They're talking the same way that we talk. So what Moors do is, because we're classified as Negro, black, colored people, we proclaim our nationality to get ourselves out of the corporate status, right? For Europeans, they would be naturalizing. And them naturalizing is getting themselves conceptually in the place of recognizing that
The so-called.
the fraudulent people are not really the government.
Right.
The real government are the people.
Right.
But from a European perspective, who are the people? The people are the Aboriginal indigenous people who's been here before we came here.
Right.
Now you have situations where you have
Thank you for staying on this.
Irish,
Don't be nervous when you work time. Brothers.
Irish, Scottish, certain people that came over here to the Americas, they were classified as nigger when they came over here.
Right.
So it's not like it's, nigger is just our thing.
Right.
There was Europeans today, 2015, that they'll tell you, yeah, we got classified as nigger, and we didn't like that.
Yeah.
So they went back to their natural origin. When you're talking about independence and things like that, they started saying that they are the, Scottish and Irish and whatever, but they're doing that under the jurisdiction of a democracy, which doesn't have that authority.
But ultimately,
So
there was some contracts made
that
gave
tied
some
them to,
allowances.
right, they got little handouts or whatever benefits in order to claim that they are, quote unquote, U.S. citizens, American citizens,
Same
whatever.
What's going on with the so-called Indians.
Right,
and
whoever else is
Hindustanis,
coming here, Hindustanis, Chinese, etc. Right?
But this is exactly why when you ask some of these Europeans, because they all look generally the same. If you try to call an Italian white, they'll tell you, I'm not white.
Yeah.
I'm Italian.
Right.
Right?
Right.
They will tell you, I'm not white, I'm Italian.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Right.
So,
Right. So before you say
So you're saying that what it is you're basically getting conceptually.
conceptually recognizing that the who you've been following is not the government,
The de facto.
is de facto corporate criminals, and you want to tie yourself with the most de jure people that you can tie yourself to, being that there's King Alfred plan, where
Oh my goodness.
they say
Oh my goodness.
yeah, where they say
Oh my goodness.
this executive
Oh my goodness.
this executive order was authorized October 9th, October of 1969 to counteract the minority, blacks, Indians, Latinos, Puerto Ricans, and poor whites, right? And that, and also that
Classified.
no nationality. One will take note that all people mentioned in these government plans, blacks, Indians, Latinos, Puerto Ricans, and poor whites, do not include a de jure national name or title. All these words are descriptive chattel brands coined by Europeans to substitute pedigree parentage names and were forced as appellations on the indigenous peoples of the Americas and their own discards. All people bearing these labels, blacks, Indians, Latinos, Puerto Ricans, and poor whites, are classified or referred to as it.
Oh, what's the word it mean?
Not human.
All right, so that's,
Can we
so
look
that's,
it up?
Right.
so that's the answer to it, right?
Right.
Is what you're saying is that's the process.
So the idea is for Europeans to
record.
recognize that there is an actual de jure government. And the brother had the dollar bill, which at the back of the dollar bill you have the pyramid and the eagle. And the eagle represents the European nations that are here, and the pyramid represents the Moabite nation that has been here for 50,000 years, that sanctioned all this stuff that we have called Europeans in the Americas. Because they didn't just come over here because they wanted to come over here. They came over here because they were invited to escape what they were going through in Europe under the queens and the kings over there.
Oh, and also in search of wealth,
Yes.
wealth and all that other stuff
Right.
that they knew was going
Right.
on here.
And there's a brother on YouTube by the name of Christopher Fleming Al, the European, who uses all the paperwork that we use, uses all the information that we use, and his activity is based on him speaking from the perspective of, I'm a Moorish subject. Like, he doesn't talk, I'm a US citizen, I'm Scottish, I'm whatever. His position is, I'm a Moorish subject. If I'm in America, then I should be under the jurisdiction of the Moors as a citizen.
So
And my citizenry is subject to Moorish binoculars.
So in essence, it would be like being in China and saying, rather than saying I'm a Russian, it would be like being in China and saying I'm a Chinese subject.
Right. Because
So
you're under their jurisdiction.
That would then put you above being a Russian
Being an it. Yeah.
Being it.
Yeah.
Or a Russian citizen.
And getting out of the it jurisdiction.
Well,
Into tying yourself
You
to
would be covered by
the human
Chinese
family.
To a certain extent, that's right.
Or can you read what it is, look up what it is, please? Can I say something?
Yeah. We got a couple more comments, then we're closing up.
Casablanca, the movie,
Yeah.
and they get in there and they say to, I guess Humphrey, what's your nationality?
Humphrey Bogart.
And this is like the regime of Hitler or whatever. What's that, the Gestapo or something? And they say to him, what's your nationality? And this had nothing to do, all Albions.
Yeah.
But they're saying, can I ask you a question? What is your nationality? And that's when he joked around and said, I'm a drunker.
Yeah. As a nationality.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as a nationality.
Right.
It was asked, the question was asked.
Right.
People deal with nations.
Right. And once the people start realizing that they've been dealing with imposters or like make-believe rogue people in positions of government, they'll immediately stop dealing with them. You know, but it's going to be a process because we've been dealing with them for so long with no challenges. So they got comfortable, you know, in the assumed or the assumptive role
And just to finish
of
on this,
having judicial power.
The other part there, I think it is that we've let ourselves become complacent on being self-governing.
Right.
In all
On all fronts. Yeah.
In
On all
in
fronts.
terms of finance and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So now we still are looking to them for some kind of answer to something.
And anything. Yeah. And really that's what they want. Us looking to them for something.
Right.
Anything.
Right.
Is gonna just give them
the
a
power.
little bit of power so they can claim some jurisdiction.
Getting to the key word, jurisdiction again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, you have it there, bro?
Yes.
All right.
It is a pronoun used to refer to that one previously mentioned. That one previously mentioned is international scientific vocabulary. So, used of a non-human entity,
Yeah.
an animate being whose sex is unspecified, unknown, or irrelevant, a group of objects or individuals, or an abstract, polish the table until it shines or shone.
Right.
Islam.
So it's inanimate. It's an
So
inanimate.
inanimate.
It's not human, just like you said, more.
So as soon as
That's why I wanted to do that,
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
you told me
Right.
it means not human. Okay, I'll take your word for
Yeah,
it.
but
now
man
we
knows
get
not-
something
man knows not by
intangible,
being
read up the
told.
book, get the definition so we can hear it,
Right.
read it ourselves. Now you know.
Now you know for
Not
sure.
just because you said so,
Right.
it must be so, there's a God in the sky.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Hey, come here.
Yeah. So no being classified as it. You know what I mean? Nationals Day of the day. Want to thank all the new people coming in. As well, we have application forms if anybody needs them to pick it up, so you can become a member of the temple. Is there any other questions, comments?
I just put my email on. I was gonna say,
Oh.
but nothing much.
Does the officer do this stuff?
I could do it. Yeah.
Okay.
Any questions with regard to becoming a member of the temple? Please email amarylbay@hotmail.ca. Any info with regard to paperwork, being a member of the temple, things of that nature. There's no more comments. We'll just close out with the prayer. We want to say peace and Islam to all the Moors online today. We had ranging from 20 to 25 or something like that. So let's close off. Please face the east. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth. Peace. Freedom. And justice. Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide. And my salvation.
My salvation.
By night. And by day. Through his holy prophet. Noble Drew Ali. Ashe. Islam.
Yes.